Why are you already smiling?
Cause Rick just told us something that I didn't realize. Like that's cool. I mean, it's both cool and trippy, and I didn't realize it. But I'm glad to be back around the table with you. That's why I'm smiling.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year.
Happy Hanukkah to my Jewish friends. Welcome. I mean, this is year number 6. We started in COVID, and here we are. Let's see what 2025 brings. All positivity, hopefully. All fun, all the adventures of Stephen Captain Evil. Here we go.
Did you have a minute when Rick was like, hey, just so you guys know, you're starting year 6 on the podcast. So we're starting year 6 on the podcast. I thought it was 5. I had 1 year less.
I do want to say, Renae hurt me today. Physically. Renae hurt my back.
That sounds so bad. We just went from Happy New Year, like excited and smiling, till now you're
all
like
positive. And then Renae hurt my back.
Throwing me under the bus for something I didn't even do.
For those of you that don't know, broke my back in high school playing football. One of the reasons I do not like football as a sport for my children. So I have a bad back.
Are you okay? You must be in a lot of pain that you like jumped right to that.
Yeah, because I'm like hurting. Renae blew the breaker. She blew the breaker.
I was taking a shower. It's cold.
She's like, I'm a little girl. The breaker went out. Man's job. Somebody please. How do you fix it, babe? So I'm like, okay. So I have to move this huge mirror.
You must be in a lot of pain because your voice of me is even higher. When you do an impression of me, your voice is usually not that high.
And I had to move this mirror. Above the mirrors, all the cowboy hats. All the hats fell. I had to switch the breaker back on, put the mirror back, and then Renae brings me a stool because I'm short to put the hats back, and I eat shit. Dude, I fell hard, and it twisted my back, and I'm in so much pain right now. Hopefully the pain.
You can't even think.
You know, it hurts to laugh. Anyway, so it's all Renae's fault that I'm in pain. What do they call that, Rick? When it's like, because you did something.
The 7 degrees of not Renae's fault? That's what they call it.
I think it's the butterfly effect.
Oh, the butterfly, yes.
Right, Rick? That's what it's called?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
It's how many steps can we take and still blame Renae?
Well, bottom line is, had you not blew the breaker, we wouldn't be having this issue.
Oh, okay. Had I not taken a shower?
Had you blew the breaker and said, "Oh, I know how to fix that. I moved the mirror."
Okay, but for the visual for people who are listening is that the mirror is a huge, I don't know. The mirror's bigger than me. It is this wide, and it is probably a foot taller than me. It's a big, heavy mirror.
It's like 3.5 feet by 9 feet,
and it's got a thick old heavy frame on it, so it's not a.
Anyway, so forgive me. I am in a little bit of pain, not because of Renae. All joking aside, we had such a successful, biggest podcast we've ever done with my friend Gabriel Iglesias
to close out the year. What an exciting way to close out the year! Did you go back and read the comments?
I did, and I want to talk about them.
Okay,
did you read them?
I read a few. I tried to comment on some. Yeah, but I didn't read it recently. It was a long time ago, so I don't know if I'll remember what the comments were.
Rick, did you read them?
I didn't.
People really liked you and Fluffy together. I do remember that one person said they were like, you guys should do something together. Like you should collaborate on something and do something together.
No, I mean the response was wonderful.
Yeah.
Other than I get so mad when people really pissed me off, and they were like. And maybe it's
which one?
Well, Maybe they don't know who we are because maybe they came on board with
Gabriel.
The Gabriel.
Okay.
Train, right? Which we welcome.
Yes.
Because we love Gabriel, and Gabriel's fans are absolutely amazing. But she was like, "That girl is annoying and needs to be fired."
I didn't read that one.
First of all, bitch, let me talk to you. I'm talking to you. First of all, it is my wife.
Get her, babe. Get her.
Second of all, Renae is very, very talented. She went to NYU, and she's very good at what she does, and she will never be fired. Ever. Fucking ever. It is my wife. It is my life partner, and she will never be fucking fired. You're fired. You're fired.
I had a really dirty joke in my head, and I like stopped myself from saying it because it was so dirty. And then I was like, but it's also not true. When you were like, she will never be fired, I was like, I suck too much dick for that. But then I was like, no, I don't really.
But she doesn't. At all. She has this job because she's talented. She's not even sleeping with the boss. No, I just took offense to that because
you're sweet. I didn't read that one.
Well, and also like this podcast is me and you together talking about our life and all the things that we're going through, and we hope that the people that listen and or watch and listen understand that this is a relationship podcast about our day-to-day life and the things that we're going through. And
actually, the one that I read was like super complimentary. It was like, Renae, you did a good job of kind of adding to the conversation. And I told that person in particular, I was thank you for noticing, because it's really hard to do. You and I sort of are in a sync when it's just the two of us. And even then we still like try not to interrupt each other. And, you know, people get on us for interrupting each other and being on each other's toes. But then when you add a third person and then even Martin, a fourth person in the mix, it's hard for everybody to contribute, but also not step on each other's toes.
A podcast is hard. And that's what's so frustrating is like somebody was like, hey, Steve, let him finish. Or, hey, Steve, why do you got to chime in? And I'm like, I don't know, because I'm trying to keep a podcast going.
Yeah.
Because doing a podcast is very hard. Because I don't know when to chime in or when not to chime in, right? You just do your
when
best.
We've been on one topic for too long and then move along.
You get on here and you just do your best. You know, and I feel the responsibility as the kind of the guy that runs the show.
You're the tour director, like on the cruise. You keep it moving.
For those of you that are like, oh man, you interrupt too much. I'm sorry. Well, you get fluffy on your podcast and show me how to do it, please. And then somebody else, you know, one of them, somebody was like, you know, oh, I didn't know who you were until this podcast. And then I went to my mom's house and she was watching your stand up. And the guy goes, oh my God, so hack. And I'm like, why is telling stories hack now? Right? Like why
your style of joke telling?
Yeah, like sometimes people go, oh, that's hack. You know, and it's like, first of all, I'm telling original stories that are about me and my specific life, right?
Yes. And
I'm telling stories about our struggles and what we go through, right? And I tell the story. And then for him to go, oh, well, it's hacked. And, you know, and I always hold back, but I wanted to be like, oh, I can't wait to see your special on Netflix and see how good your comedy special is.
Listen,
you know?
I think it's a matter of perspective, because you could swap out hack, the adjective hack, for relatable. You know, like I think that's where he's coming from. You talk about everyday things that people can relate to.
It doesn't bother me because I'm going to continue to do what I do.
Yeah.
What bothers me is it's like the
negative energy.
No, it's like it's people that think that their opinion matters, right? It's like
don't we all think our opinion matters? Wouldn't we all hope our opinion matters?
In a situation, it would be like, you know, Rick calling me up and going, dude, the way that the coach for Detroit managed that game was all wrong. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, Rick. Are you a fucking coach? Have you
Rick's like, why am I being called out right now?
I'm just using Rick as an example, but it's like, I'm sorry, Rick. Are you? Did you spend your life playing football? Did you spend your life as a coach? I'm sorry, Mr. Fucking. Yeah. Now you're gonna tell that coach.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
right.
like
who is that guy to be the opinion of comedy?
Instead, you go, hey, not a big fan of what you do, right?
Yeah.
My mom liked it, or I'm not a big fan of what you do. I like.
Hey, that's also an insult to his mama, because if his mama likes it and she finds it good.
Well, I think you know, there's Eddie Murphy Raw is one of my favorite stand-up. And he gets a phone call from Bill Cosby, and he talks about it. And Bill Cosby says, you know, hey, you know, my son bought a ticket to your show, and all you did was F this and F that, and it was filthy and
Is this a real story?
real story.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if it actually happened, but he tells the story about Bill Cosby calling him and scolding him and basically saying like, what you do is not comedy and it's nothing but filth, and he talks about it. He goes, man, he acts like I walk up here and go, Phil, fuck you, fuck, thank you, good night, right?
Yeah.
He goes, so then I called Richard Pryor and I told Richard what happened. And Richard said, well, do they laugh when you say that shit? And he goes, yeah, they laugh when I say that shit. He goes, then say that shit, right?
I love that.
It's pretty simple.
What's the ultimate goal?
The ultimate goal is do people laugh? Do people enjoy it? Do people want to come out?
Is it entertaining?
Yes. And I would say if you're one of those people that think that in any field,
I wonder if that guy, now that you say that, I wonder if the person who made that comment has ever even been in like a comedy club or in a theater and seen live comedy. Because to me, that's like the best feeling in the world, to be sitting in a room and laughing for an hour with a group of people.
Most of them are what I call the comedy nerds, right? Where they follow every comedy podcast, right? They watch Kill Tony on a regular. They listen to Joe Rogan.
But they've never done stage time for 5 minutes.
And, yeah, right. But they think that they know what stand up is, and at the end of the day, and we used to deal with this with bookers, right? A booker of a comedy club or a theater, a lot of times, especially comedy clubs, a lot of times they're failed comedians. And those bookers only book who they think are funny.
Yeah.
Right. And that happens.
I can see that. Yeah.
That happens to me a lot because I'm very old school and I'm very telling stories and, there's no clever setup to do a twisty punchline. You know what I mean? What I do is, number one, it's hard what I do and how I weave everything together.
Well, that's what I was about to say, is there's such art to what you do.
But it is an old school art of stand-up, right? Of hey, I'm a storyteller. However, most of the biggest comedians out there, Gabriel Iglesias being one of them, are storytellers. Kevin Hart is a huge stand-up comedian, sells a lot of tickets, storyteller, right? Sebastian Maniscalco, storyteller. Huge, right? Bert Kreischer, storyteller, right? So, is it hack? No, it's just old school.
Yeah.
Right? But I like it. I like old school. I like hearing a story that makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Rick,
in other, you said that in other art forms, there's a lot of value to old school, right? People love Cody Johnson because they feel like he's throwback country. People like, Chris Stapleton because he's old school throwback country. Like there is an art to that as well.
Rick, what kind of style do you like when it comes to stand up?
All over. I'm a comedy nerd, so I go all over. So I like Anthony Jeselnik. I love you, Rodney Dangerfield. I can go through the history of comedy. So
and I'm a lot like you. I see entertainment in all of it.
It's the same thing when people say, I only like country music or I only like hip hop. No, you don't. You like everything that's good. So if you like Jeselnik, I like him on a Thursday and I like you on a Friday. And that may switch next week. It's what you're in the mood for.
Well, you also have to have, I also think that there's a sense of intelligence that comes with being able to appreciate all of it. Right? When it comes to, let's talk about country music, right? Yeah. I can't tell you how many times people are like, oh, I don't listen to that garbage. And it's like, have you tried? You can't appreciate the fact that they're playing their own instruments?
Yeah.
Or the fiddle or the steel guitar. You can't appreciate the lyrics. I mean, come on, right? Like you said, Rick, to completely go, I don't fucking listen to that. That to me is a lack of education. And a lack
you think it's a lack of education or intelligence?
I think it's ignorance.
I don't know. I was like, I think some people are just more creative souls and having more of an appreciation for the arts than others, whatever form it's in.
I've always been the kind of guy that goes, man, there's something to that, right?
Yeah.
Like if I see a lot of people doing something, I go, there's got to be something to that.
Yeah.
Right? There's got to be something. If people go, hey, man, several times, have you ever had grilled octopus, Steve? It's delicious. And I go, well, I'm going to try it because several people have said it's really good. And then I taste it and I go, oh, I can see how somebody would like that.
Yeah.
I don't completely go, I ain't doing that. No way. It's an octopus. How can octopus be good? Well, apparently there's something to it.
Yeah.
Right? but it's you know, I mean, there's people that don't like Mozart.
Classical music, yeah.
You know, but Mozart's a genius.
Yeah.
How do you not like that? You're a crazy person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And artwork. I can look at a piece of art and somebody goes, oh my God, that's a $100,000 piece of art. And I'm like, well, yeah, if somebody's willing to pay it, good for them. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't particularly get it or I don't understand it, but I could see how somebody could like that.
Yeah.
I don't immediately go, you're a fucking idiot for liking that.
Well, I don't think you said you were a fucking
No, but
idiot.
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of armchair comedians, armchair coaches.
What does that mean? Armchair. Gotcha.
You know,
Yes,
they're sitting there in the back going, oh, God, this guy sucks. And that guy's
not doing.
Yeah, they can't do it. But, oh, I got to tell you that guy's not funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to his own, and we've talked about it before, you know, there's comics that are very, very, very successful. I don't get it. I watch them and I go, I don't think they're funny.
Yeah.
But somebody else does. And I can understand how they like that. They like edgier. They like dirtier. I get it.
Yeah.
You know? But anyway, a lot of great comments.
Did anything surprise you from the podcast with Gabriel? Was there anything you were surprised to hear from him?
I was, I thought the Martin and Gabriel relationship was really beautiful.
Yeah, me too.
That's what I got out of the podcast. And I thought to myself,
their friendship
and their journey together. And even though Gabriel is the star of the show, you know, he was, you know, kind of the you to me.
What do you mean?
Martin was that person with Gabe that helped him navigate it.
Oh,
that was
interesting.
That was there to give him advice and there to be a good friend. And
oh, it's sweet that you made that comparison because I never made that comparison.
Because Gabe was a single guy, you know, and I also found it interesting when you think about it. Is here's a guy that started very, very young, and in his case, like Martin said, everybody was older than him when he was on tour, and because they were older and had done it longer, they thought, oh, I'm gonna big time Gabe, and Martin wasn't that kind of a person, and together they found each other, and together they built this amazing thing, obviously with Gabe at the head of it all, but I really admired that. I thought that was really cool. I didn't realize that Martin and Gabe had started at the same time. I thought Gabe was already established, and then Martin came in. I didn't realize that they were both like, hey, we're both trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
Right?
I was not aware that he'd had so much success like early, or that he was so successful early on. I didn't realize it happened for him so young.
But there is there's something to be said about right place, right time.
Yeah.
You know, Que Locos was huge.
The way that happened. Yeah.
Right? And Gabe was there living in town. I started comedy also at a very young age, but remember, I'm in rural Texas. I don't have a stage, or there is no outlet for me.
Yeah.
Right? Had there been an outlet for me at 18, who knows what my career would have been, right? If I was already living in LA when Que Locos was out, who knows what would have happened to my career.
What I was surprised by is I was amazed that he had success at such a young age. And then, because he stayed, after we filmed the podcast, he stayed and hung out for another, hour or two here at the house, just visiting with us. And we visited for an hour before we even got on the podcast. And so I was amazed that he had success at such a young age and was still such a humble human.
I always tell people, fame is so fucking weird.
And complicated.
It's complicated. It's so weird.
In a way that I don't think, no matter how you explained it or expressed it, that a normal, average, not famous person can understand. I really don't. I don't know how you explain it.
I'm not nearly as famous and as recognizable as Gabe, right? And it doesn't help that Gabe's a big boy, right? So
yeah.
So you already go, oh,
he's noticeable.
Yeah, look at that big guy. And then you're like, oh my God, that's Fluffy, right?
Yeah.
Because he is hugely famous. I'm not even close to that kind of fame. And it's just it's a weird thing. It is I can see how people can buy into it, right? You know.
What do you mean? Elaborate.
I can see how people can put people around them that feed that ego and feed that celebrity and feed that fame, that they completely lose track of real life and what real life is like.
Interesting.
Right? You know, I'll never forget. We were checking into a hotel, me and you, and I looked at you and I go, is it me or is this lady being freaking rude? And I remember you go, no, she doesn't know who you are and she's treating you normal.
I don't remember that.
And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, that's how normal people get treated. Steve, you're used to walking into the hotel, oh, Mr. Trevino, we have your keys and we're so excited you're here. Uh-huh. This woman didn't give a fuck. And I was like, she's being rude. And you were like, no, she's being normal. You're used to overly nice.
Yeah, this is how long it takes everyone else to check into a hotel.
But yeah, so I think I was also very happy. You know, I had a stint there when I had first moved to LA where I was hanging out with Gabriel quite a bit. And we would go to his house and we would play poker. Uh-huh. And I would hang out with him for several months. I was, you know, Gabe would invite and I'd go, right? Different Gabe. You know, at that time, he wasn't as sweet and as open.
Yeah.
But I think that I really appreciated his humility, and I appreciated his he was so comfortable.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The comment that I did read that really, really made me smile was someone who they clearly seemed like they were a fan of Gabriel and knew his history. And they said, this is the most comfortable I've ever seen Gabe on a podcast. And I just thought, wow, that's really cool that he felt comfortable in our home and shared the way he did.
I thought it was great, and I loved talking to him and hanging out. We got to do it again, right? We should do it again.
Well, we should also plug his podcast for him because not his podcast, his special, because he was so sweet to do our podcast. His Netflix special comes out. It's out
like today or tomorrow.
We're filming today, but yes, when this podcast is out, go and watch it.
Yeah, go watch and
Fluffy support
the legend.
I'm excited to watch it.
I really enjoyed our conversation, and again, you know, but I don't think people don't forgive celebrities when they're grumpy or when they're mad or something happens and they go, oh my God, what a dick, right? But they don't realize
the mistake gets amplified.
I always tell people everything I do is amplified. Everything. If I'm a little mad, it's, oh shit, Steve's pissed off. If I'm really happy, people go, oh man, Steve's so happy, we're so happy, you know. Everything I do, if I tip, right, it's amplified. Oh, Steve Trevino came in, he tipped me $100. Oh my God, right? If I don't tip and I just tip 20%, they go, really? I got a regular tip from him? So everything is amplified, right? So it is, and then with Gabriel too, I mean, you know, people see Gabe and they freak out. I've been with Gabe where they're like, oh my God, Fluffy, you know, and run right past me to get a picture with him. And I'm fine with that. Yeah. But, you know, I think the levels of fame, which is why I've always said, you know, the fact that Paulie Shore, my friend, is somewhat normal is insane. Yeah. I mean, the kid grew up in the Comedy Store, being babysat.
From the time he was little.
Little kid. Yeah. Being babysat by Sam Kinison.
That's by Richard
Pryor, watching them do cocaine, watching them party, watching them bring women over and
I
having
just
sex.
feel like
I
I feel like I've seen a photo, a black and white photo, and it's like
It's
all
my
these
favorite photo.
comedians, and
Oh,
it's
no.
Paulie sitting in a booth, right? Am I making this up? Why have I seen this somewhere?
I showed it to you at the Comedy Store. It's my favorite picture at the Comedy Store. Paulie Shore's got to be 12 years old. And he's sitting in the back of the main room.
If that, Steve.
If that, right? He's sitting in the back of the main room, sitting on the back booth, on the top of it, watching comedy. And the picture is coming from that way, this way, away from the stage. William Zebka, the Karate Kid guy, is in the picture. But the picture's of Paulie.
And he's got like comedians sitting around him, doesn't he?
No,
Like,
it's just him watching
but
the show. But I'm like, can you freaking imagine being 11 years old? There it is right there. Yeah, that's the...
Oh, Rick pulled it up.
The picture, Rick. Right there with the little face. How old do you think
I
he
don't
is?
even think he's 12 years old.
So there's William Zebka right behind him wearing a headband. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, right there.
But I'm thinking Garrett's 9 right now. I'm thinking Garrett in a year from now, a 10-year-old Garrett sitting
Just-
in a back booth
just
at
roaming
the
around.
Comedy Store late night. The Comedy Store is not like other comedy clubs either. I feel like we have
Well,
to put it into
especially-
perspective.
Especially back then. I mean, a lot of cocaine, a lot of women, a lot of sex, a lot of partying, you know, and here's this kid. Look at him. How old do you think he is there? 10?
No, I was gonna say no way is 10-year-old Garrett in a back booth at a comedy club.
Unattended.
Like-
He's not sitting with mom or dad.
Oh yeah.
He's literally roaming around the Comedy Store as a 9-year-old.
I'll pop in and watch the show
Let
now.
me go watch Pryor. Let me go watch. And not only that, there's my babysitter. I saw that dude do cocaine off a chick's ass earlier.
Oh my God.
I mean, really, right? And Paulie to have become Paulie Shore when he was Paulie Shore. I mean, Paulie Shore was a big deal to me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I remember, you know, he would do Totally Paulie, where he would do the whole spring break. Remember that, Arturo?
On
And-
MTV.
On MTV.
My babysitters watched. They didn't
Yeah.
do coke off a stripper's ass. They watched MTV. So I remember MTV.
But I remember him doing Corpus and being on the seawall as Paulie, you know, and I'm like, oh my God, Paulie Shore came to Corpus Christi, Texas.
Yeah.
You know, and he was actually one of the first shows that I saw when I was in high school at the Harbor Playhouse.
Live comedy, you
live
mean?
comedy
Yeah.
was Paulie, and he came out, buddy, and I'm like, oh my God, Paulie Shore, you know, and now he's my friend. Now I have his phone number, and now we talk, and you know, but that's another level of fame.
I was like, how do we even get on the discussion of Paulie?
Because it's the level of fame and the not living in reality as a child to then be he's a businessman and he's a great comic and he tours and he's he's not in the tabloids. He's not a drug addict. He's not, I mean, the
It
guy's
makes me
doing it.
wish I had known Mitzi Shore.
Oh gosh, I got to meet Mitzi.
Because she had to have, I mean, obviously, you know, she owned the Comedy Store, but for him to have turned out somewhat normal, she had to be a very big part of that.
all her kids have come out to be very, very successful. All of them are businessmen and women, and they're all very, very successful.
It just makes me want to know Mitzi more. How come there's not a Mitzi Shore documentary?
There's got to be. But let me tell you something. When I met her, I will tell you, there has been 2 times in my life that I have felt power. Okay? One, I'm performing in San Jose.
Uh-huh.
And the hotel I'm staying at, George W., when he was president, was staying there.
Yeah.
And it was already uncomfortable because it was already a thing. Like people busy, very busy, people moving around, people, Secret Service. I mean, you could tell something's up, right? I get back from press, right? And I'm walking in the hotel and immediately somebody grabs me, moves me aside, and moves everybody aside, and in walks George W. And you could feel his presence. You could feel power.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just me. Everybody was stopped and was like, it wasn't like, oh my God, there's Johnny Depp, right? That's a different, ooh, Johnny Depp, right? This is like,
A sort of reverence.
it was like, holy shit, that's the president of the United States of America, and he's right there. and then the Secret Service around him and the energy, and you just go, fuck. Like I felt it.
Yeah.
Like it was like I got hit with something, right?
Yeah.
It's not starstruck. It's not excitement. It is, oh fuck, right? Yeah. It's a very powerful man.
This is important,
right?
Yeah.
Same thing with Mitzi.
Yeah?
Everybody go, Mitzi's coming. Mitzi's coming. Everybody get your shit together. Mitzi's on her way. They were bringing Mitzi. And then the car would roll up and they would pull this fragile old lady out and the place fucking stopped.
How old was she at the time?
She's pretty old.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we could find out. This was probably 2003.
Yeah.
But it was like, I mean, the world stopped moving when Mitzi came. And then Mitzi would have all these people walking with her. And then she sat down and I had to, I was one of the last classes that got passed by her. Because she would have to, you do showcases in front of her and then she would decide.
If you could perform at the Comedy Store.
If you were a paid regular is what we called it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like being a made man, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. And she's sitting in that little chair in the back of the OR with her little notepad, right?
Yeah.
And she goes, come here, after my set. And she goes, you're Mexican. I like it. I'm gonna pass you. I'm gonna pass you like Freddie Soto.
Did she really?
Yeah, she goes, I like you. You're passed. And I was like, oh my God. You know, and then they like shuffled me off. Like, stop talking to her. Like, she's done with you. Be gone. You know. But those were the two times in my life where I felt like, holy shit. And then another time, which was kind of weird and kind of similar, I met Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. And and the feeling I had was, this dude's fucking rich. That's the feeling. Like I felt the richness.
And he could probably squish you like a bug.
I literally felt like he shook my hand and it was beautiful. And it was like cocoa butter. And it was so smooth and so rich. And the clothes he was wearing and the watch he had, where you're just like, motherfucker, this guy's rich.
Yeah.
Like, what about for you, Rick? Any moments like that?
Dave Matthews.
Oh, God. Can we delete that? Can we? Dave Matthews.
What I meant to say was the Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
But did you get to meet Dave or just being in his presence?
I got to meet him. I got to work with him actually 2 days, and I lost my shit. You know how you hate when fans come up to you and they have that glazed look and stuff?
Yeah.
I was so embarrassing. It was so embarrassing. So when people come up to you and do that, I feel for them because I'm like, that was me.
I usually try to hug him.
I wish they would have hugged me.
Oh my God, the way Rick said that.
When I see that and I see that on their face, I try to take them down. Like I try to make them feel very welcome, and I'll give them a hug.
Yeah.
You know, or they'll be like, can I hug you? And I'm like, yeah, like come here, like, you know. So I try to recognize it, and then I try to help them be more comfortable.
Yeah.
How about you, Renae?
Well, I was going to say, it's also interesting because when I'm meeting people, it's usually with you at a meet and greet after a show. And so we're already getting the version of people when they're like liquored up, you know, so they're already not themselves. So I same thing. I just always am I'm very kind and gentle, I hope, because I acknowledge that if I was a little too tipsy or too drunk, I would want someone to be the same with me.
But have you ever met anybody that you were like, holy shit?
Oh.
Besides me?
I don't know. I think maybe I approach it different because I'm married to you and I see your experience. So I see it from a different lens.
Well, I do too. And I know a lot of celebrities. I've met a lot of celebrities.
Yeah.
I've hung out with a lot of celebrities. This was different.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to explain to you. It was different.
Yeah.
When George W. walked in that hotel lobby, it was different. It wasn't a feeling of intimidation or it was there's power here in the room.
Yeah.
Like, this is real shit, right? This is one of the most important men in the world right now.
Yeah.
It's different. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Look, Loretta Lynn was the only person to ever make me starstruck. And I know what that feeling's like. It's a different feeling.
Yeah.
Right? Is there somebody you think?
I guess mine was you know what? Mine, I did have a moment. It was years ago. It was Jodie Foster, like back in her Oscar-winning award days. Meeting Jodie Foster, that felt like because I just graduated from NYU. I think an acting student. I was like, wow, I'm meeting an Oscar-winning actress. That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Oh, it's very. I mean, but
for me, it was like I want to be able to have like a really intelligent conversation with you, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do want to say hi. I do want to be seen. So it's one of those things.
And if with celebrities or sports figures, I just find them fascinating, and I kind of want to know who they are as a human. Is when I when I met Barry Bonds and you dragged me out of the tour bus.
Because I didn't know who he was.
But I'm sitting there chatting it up with Barry Bonds because I'm just like, I want to know this dude as a person.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to know what makes them tick and who are they and just kind of
what makes extraordinary people extraordinary or people who have accomplished extraordinary things.
Yeah. What kind of dude is this guy?
Yeah.
Right. What kind of guy is this person? Did you get more comfortable, Rick, with Dave Matthews as the days went on, or?
No, absolutely not. No, and I was young and so low on the totem pole of production that I was a nobody on set.
And it always cracks me up because I always, I was like at the Comedy Store. I always kept my distance. Like I never wanted to be that guy.
Yeah.
But it was always crazy to me that those guys that are that guy, and I'm sitting there going, and then all of a sudden you go, this guy got a writing gig with that dude, and he just met him at the Comedy Store, and he was so forward and so like, hey, what's up, Quentin Tarantino?
I'm a writer.
I'm a writer, and you're just watching these dudes, and you're like, would you leave this fucking guy alone? And then it works, and you're like, how the fuck did that work? you know what I mean? Like, what? Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
I had several times that I sat there and chatted with Adam Sandler. But I was never like, hey, I need a job. And can you give me a job? And then you see dudes that act that way and then it fucking works. And you're like, they wouldn't work with me. Like if somebody came to me and was like, oh, can I have a job? And I'm always turned off. I'm like, hey, get to know me first. Like,
yeah.
It's the same thing when I'm sitting at if I'm at a casino after a show and I'm having a drink, I'd rather have a conversation with you than just take a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if somebody came to me, hey, Steve, man, you're great. And, and that happens a lot, where somebody comes up to me and they're like, man, we're big fans and, so great to meet you. And I'm like, well, great to meet you too. And where are you from? And, then we have
when you're by yourself. Because I feel like, I don't know if you would feel the same if you and I were together.
Yeah. We've done that before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, meet my wife. This is my wife, Renae. Right?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I appreciate it when people are respectful of our time and are like, hey, can I just get a quick picture?
Oh, that's fine too.
I can tell you guys are on a date. I don't want to interrupt.
And we're like, we're not on a date. We're fucking.
We're fighting. Can you leave so we can finish the fight?
Actually,
please?
we're fighting right now. Can you hang out, please? Because I'm losing this fucking fight. And Renee's nice around other people. So please help me out. But I'm trying to think. I almost think, did we do a podcast after Vegas or before?
What do you
did not do one after. The one after was Gabe.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Was it?
I don't remember. It feels like so long ago. We took a nice, long, healthy break.
Oh, we did. And Christmas was great here at the Trevino house and very chill, very relaxed. The kids were very happy with their Christmas.
Yeah.
I did get sick, and then Renae got sick, and then Garrett got sick, and then Delilah was sick, and we did have some of that, but very chill. Very chill New Year's.
Yeah.
Didn't do much. Just blew some shit up in the backyard.
Almost lit my shipping container with decorations on fire.
Oh,
they're okay. I still have Halloween decorations. They didn't go up in flames.
It was pretty awesome, dude. Like, it's so funny. Like in a movie, like you'll watch a movie and then like something will happen and you're like, oh yeah, there just happened to be fucking hay there. And it just happened to hit the hay. And then the hay just lit on fire and got out of control. That's a movie. No, that's exactly what fucking happened at our house. A firework fell on its side, shot into the pile of hay. The hay fucking lit on fire, and then I couldn't put it out. I would soak it with water. We'd go back to fireworks, and then fire out of the hay again. I'm like, shit. So we go back over there. Then I threw dirt on it. That didn't work. Then we had a freaking fire extinguisher. Did that. That didn't work. Finally, I had to take each bale of hay off of each other and soak them individually because it just kept fucking lighting on fire. I'm like, it's like a movie. This is where, like, you know, in the movie, they put it out, they go to bed, and then their house burns down. Like, it was crazy. But it was chill. We had a good time, and now it's back to work. When you're watching this podcast, I will be in Lubbock, Texas, and Amarillo on Saturday, Tulsa on Thursday, and then next week, where am I? Omaha?
You're heading to Omaha.
Yeah, Omaha.
Yeah.
I like
it's
Omaha.
going to be cold. You're going to be in Nebraska in January.
That's why I was like, really? As soon as I start touring again, it's going to be fucking... I mean, I'm in sweatpants, guys. It's freaking 20 degrees outside. It's so crazy cold. But I just... Going back to the Gabe comments.
Uh-huh.
I get so frustrated when it's like... You do it then.
Yeah?
Well, you were interrupting Gabe. Well, my bad. I'm sorry.
Oh, I feel like those things, you can't let people who aren't doing bother you.
I agree, but it's still bothers
I
me.
want to have, don't you want to have the conversations with the doers? It's like people doing shit want to be around people doing shit.
And we have been doing this for 6 years, and believe me, I do try to get better at this.
Yeah.
Like it's not easy, right? And there are notes sometimes that I read and I go, oh yeah, you know what? I should probably
Valid point. Yeah.
I do better about that, you know? And I usually kind of respond better to people that are like, Steve, we love you, but you know,
yes,
you know, can you not do this? Or, you know,
yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? I can kind of see where you're coming from.
You can also tell when someone is writing a comment from a good place and it is like criticism to help versus I just wrote this comment because I just want to shit on it. And let's see if it stirs anything up. Let's see if I get any attention and people respond.
It was let me look it up. It was very successful. I wonder if we got any new comments, but it was really cool of Gabe to do that because I'm hoping it gives us a little bump, and I think it did.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
So if you're new, welcome. You think we got some new people?
I hope so. I hope some people think, hey, I think I want to get into these guys.
I just always, you know what makes me nervous? What makes me nervous is when we get new people, and it's not just new people to the podcast, but it is new people to you. And it always makes me nervous that people are judging your stand-up or how funny you are based on the podcast. Like, I just always feel like I want to preface it with what we do on this podcast is completely different than what you do in your stand-up. They are two very separate things.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And it cracks me up that people think like, oh, I'm going to watch this podcast with Steve and it's going to be stand-up. It's not stand-up.
Or an hour of laughs. Like, I'm not a comedian. That is not my thing. People ask me, like, Renae, do you have any interest in doing stand-up comedy? And I'm like, no.
But
none.
You're funny.
Never.
I think you're funny. I think you've added a lot of fun and comedy to this podcast. And we do try to keep it light, and we try to have some, and we've had a lot of fun doing it because, you know, it is the ups and the downs of our day-to-day life from travel baseball. That was a big part of our year last year.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I was like, if you think about the big, what were the big topics we talked about last year? Baseball was a big one.
Travel baseball. And I need to write more material on dealing with travel, anything.
Yeah.
Because I run into so many people on the road and they're like, oh my God, like I can tell you stories for days of the bullshit drama we're dealing with.
Well, I ran into someone and they were like, someone came up to me and they said, please tell Steve thank you for talking about the saga of travel baseball. They said, we shared it because we do travel soccer, and it was so relatable to what was happening in our travel soccer community that we had to share the podcast with people. And I thought that was interesting.
I don't remember my youth sports days, my parents dealing with any drama.
I don't know that your parents were as involved.
No, my dad coached when I was in Little League. Dad was a baseball coach, my Uncle Oscar.
Yeah. And
I don't remember this kind of drama. Do you, Arturo? Do you remember like the parents
my dad coached as well. No, it was pretty just easy going, just go.
Everybody did their thing, and parents were happy that somebody volunteered to coach, and they were like, we live in a world now where it's like my kid is the best, and my kid deserves the best, and how is my kid not playing? And I don't think that our parents were that way.
Yeah.
And I know my dad wasn't. My dad was like, dude, go earn it, dude. I don't want to hear it. Hey, that coach doesn't like me. Well, fucking make him like you. Figure it out, dude.
Yeah.
Well, Dad, they won't let me play offense. Well, maybe you suck, dude. Maybe there's somebody better than you. Take the spot you have and be good at that.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember my dad being like, you should be starting, or you should be here, or you should be shortstop, or like, I don't ever remember my parents talking like that.
Getting involved.
Rick, you played basketball. Were your parents involved like that, or?
No, not at all. Not in the least.
They didn't care. It's definitely the times.
Yeah.
And now these parents, and I mean, it's crazy that there's a ranking system for children in baseball now.
What do you mean?
Like PG and these tournament people, they're ranking kids at 9 years old.
How do you rank a
They're
kid?
ranking 9U baseball teams. Like, it's fucking nuts. But there was no training like there is now. There was no private coaching.
Yeah.
There was no, I got to have a batting cage, and I got to have this, and now it's like.
Well, now a kid can get paid to go play sports in college.
Yep.
Like, it can change your life. So that's also different. That was not the case
It's
when
not the
you were
case
young
at all.
either.
And it's, and the sad part is that
that's going to affect it more.
elite sports was actually made because they said, look, in this little town, there's 9 or 10 really good baseball players. And they don't get to play together in Little League.
Yeah.
Because it's Little League. So we're going to take 10 to 12 of the best kids in town, and we're going to make this really badass team.
Yeah.
And the rest of you, if you want to be on this really badass team, then come try out for us and earn it. Right? That was the conception of what travel sports was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But now it's like, well, we need a AA, and we need a AAA, and we need a majors, and we don't care that there's 15 9U teams. So it's just paid Little League.
I was gonna say it's a money making.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, my back is feeling better.
Is it?
It is. I am feeling a little better.
The medicine kicked in.
The pain meds are helping, but I'm still a little beat up. Before we go, Rick, any questions? We miss you. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year. No, but I do want to say I had a great experience listening to you on the Jim Brewer podcast. That was really fun.
That was so much fun.
I haven't listened to it. I need to listen to it.
Oh, man. That was
Steve
such...
invented a new game.
I did invent a new game, yeah. And Jim and I had I need to... He did say that he wanted to have me back. So I need to hit up Jim Brewer. And Jim's one of those dudes that I had not met on my journey as a stand-up. But we were able to do the podcast together. And it's crazy how similar we are. He's a big family man.
I'm not familiar with him. You think Jim would come do our podcast?
We should ask. He's a sweetheart. I mean, he's really really down to earth, and doesn't live in Hollywood, and we're very similar.
Yeah.
Would you agree, Rick?
Oh yeah, and you made him laugh really hard a couple times, so I think he would come on.
Yeah, he was really cool, and I even told the story about, he was another one. So when I was in high school, the Harbor Playhouse was bringing stand-up in. I'd buy a ticket and I'd go, sometimes by myself. And Jim Brewer was one of those dudes, and belly laughs. I remember him having me in belly laughs. I mean, like where I was like, oh my God, this guy's so... And silly. He was very silly and very goofy and very physical, but I just remember thinking like, oh my God, this guy is freaking hilarious. I mean,
Yeah.
Fall on the Ground, hilarious. Then of course, big fan of Half Baked, which is such a great movie, and of course him on SNL, and then being able to do the podcast with him, it was really special, Rick. And I'm glad you brought it up because I encourage people to get on board with Jim Brewer.
Yeah.
You know, because he's
Is he a storyteller too? His
now he
comedy,
is a little
yeah.
more, and but I'm a big fan of his. So we got to give it up to Jim Brewer. Apparently, he's our sponsor today, and Aztec Chevrolet, Coastal Bend Auto Group. Any domestic vehicle you need or want, they have it. Reach out to my friends over there; they will take care of you. Pick Cherries. Of course, we had our Old Salt coffee this morning. Absolutely delicious. Trevino 10 on that one. Rao Western wear, and we are just in love with you guys. Let's kick 2025 in the ass. Let's have fun. Let's be positive. Let's. I think I told Renae, and
No negative comments on the episode.
I'm going to say it on the podcast. I think something special is coming for the Trevinos this year, and I don't know what it is.
Yes.
But I'm really sensing something special.
You're putting it out there in the universe. I like it.
We love you guys. Please continue to share and like and let people know about us because you are our mouthpiece. You are the way that we succeed. We do not have big distribution. We don't get the big marketing. We are just me and Captain Evil, and we need y'all's help.
And Rick.
And we're talking about me and you.
Okay.
But yes, Rick, you can sleep in the same bed.
Oh, finally, 6 years.
Well, I know I'm no Dave Matthews, but what song does Dave Matthews sing?
What? Do you want me to name every single one?
Here's
the one you should listen to. Go listen to Two Step. You would like that one.
But isn't he the one that goes, "Ah"?
How? Show us again. Tell us how Dave Matthews sings. That's like me doing one of your jokes.
Yeah. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much. We love you. Happy 2025. Let's kick it in the ass.